Hi, it's Tanya from My Forking Life, and today we're in the kitchen and we're making your favorite air fryer meatloaf. Now this meatloaf is so delicious. It's much faster than if you make it in the oven, and it's nice and juicy on the inside, has a nice crust to it on the outside, and I like to top it with a nice ketchup, mustardy, sugary sauce. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some fresh breadcrumbs. I've got some just basically honey wheat bread that I've put in my food processor, and I've gone ahead and processed that till they were very fine. I'm now going to add some beef broth, and what I'm doing at this point is making a panade, which is basically moist breadcrumbs that we're going to put in our meatloaf. So now that we've got our breadcrumbs out the way, we're gonna go ahead and prepare our vegetables for our meatloaf. I like to add vegetables to the meatloaf, not only because it provides flavor, but it also provides an extra layer of moisture. That's how you can keep your meatloaf very nice and moist without drying it out, especially if you are using a type of ground beef or meat that has less fat than other typical ground beefs, or the ones that have a lot of fat in it. So now I'm going to roughly chop my veggies. So I've got my yellow onion here that I am roughly chopping. Got some mushrooms, the white button kind, that I'm going to roughly chop. And I've got a carrot here that I'm going to actually grate this. And I'm going to put all of these in my food processor. And I'm going to process that until they are nice little tiny chunks. I'm going to process it not till it's liquidy smooth, but till they're very fine, because we don't want big chunks of vegetables in our meatloaf. And again, we're doing this step for flavor as well as moisture. Now, before we build our meatloaf, we're gonna do one super duper cool thing, especially if you have a basket air fryer. We are gonna make a trivet out of foil paper so that it's easier to get the air fryer in the basket as well as out of the baskets. So I'm just gonna grab 2 pieces of foil paper, about that length. Yeah. Basically long enough to where it can be long enough to where you can make a trivet to put your meatloaf on, so you can easily put it in the air fryer basket as well as take it out. And see how easy it is? I'm pretty much just folding foil paper, and I'm gonna make a nice little cross. Now I'm going to go ahead and get my meatloaf ingredients together. I've grabbed the biggest bowl I can find in my kitchen, and I've got my ground beef, my panade, as well as those processed vegetables. I'm going to lightly beat 2 eggs, and I'm going to add that to that meatloaf mixture as well. I normally would add garlic cloves, but sometimes you forget. And I've got some ketchup here, some Dijon mustard, as well as some Worcestershire sauce. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I've also got some salt there, and I'm going to go ahead and use my hands, clean hands of course, and make sure that's fully combined, being careful not to over mix that mixture. Now if yours is a little bit too soft, add some extra breadcrumbs, but I think this is nice and dandy for me. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my meatloaf on my trivet. And as you can see, I'm preparing it so I can dump that meatloaf mixture right on it and squish it together. And I'm gonna put that right into my air fryer baskets. Easy peasy. Make sure you fold down that foil paper so that it's not sticking out and that it won't touch your air fryer coils at the top. And now I've got this extra layer that I am going to go ahead and lay over my meatloaf. Now I've done this meatloaf without the foil on top, and I've done it with the foil on top. The foil just helps it not get too brown on the top while you're baking it in your air fryer. Make sure you tuck down the sides so it doesn't burn in your air fryer or fly into the fan. So you've put our meatloaf in the air fryer, and we're gonna allow that to cook on 400 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes for a 2-pound meatloaf. Now, if we were only doing 1 pound, we wanna go ahead and reduce that time to about 30 to 35 minutes. Again, depending on your air fryer and the day of the week and whatever, it can change the amount of cook time. So you always wanna make sure you're checking that cook time around the suggested cook times, and you're using a quick read thermometer just to make sure that the middle of that meatloaf is cooked. All right, so I'll be back in about 40 minutes. All right, so it actually has been 45 minutes and I am back, and now I'm making my topping for this. So I've got some ketchup, some brown sugar for a little bit of sweetness. I'm also going to add, of course, my favorite Dijon mustard for a little bit of that tang. And we're gonna just go ahead and mix that until it's combined. You can definitely taste it to see if it's, if it's sweet enough for you or if it's tangy enough for you. And once that's combined, I'm going to take that and dab it right on the top of the meatloaf where I have removed that full covering. Again, we're not completely done with baking this. We're going to top this with our ketchup mixture, and then we're going to place it back in our air fryer. You don't want to put this on too early because that ketchup mixture can get burnt. So you kind of want to wait till the last 5 minutes and then put it on and put it back in your air fryer. And then it's done, and you want to use a quick read thermometer to make sure that your meatloaf is to the right temp. You want to get it to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I'm going to remove it from the basket using my handy dandy trivet. Now, if you've got an air fryer that has a grill grate, then you don't have to worry about this. But most basket air fryers, you're going to probably want some assistance with getting that meatloaf in and out. You also want to make your meatloaf cool for a few minutes so that you can cut it and it doesn't completely fall apart. And there you have it, air fryer meatloaf.